Okay, we are ready to attach the frame to the purse. Right, before I go on with this, I want to tell you that I'm going to issue an addendum to the pattern. As you can see, I've skillfully done it here. The reason is I've only actually put in half the number of double crochet that you need to sew through. So if you can ignore that for now, I'd be super grateful. By now I may have already done so, but I've written in the pattern that you should sew through 11 double crochet in total. In fact, it's 11 up to the midpoint and then 11 down the other side. So sort of half missing there, and I'm really sorry about that, but I sort of hoped if you're watching this video, you'd probably disregard that part anyway. So really sorry, another addendum to add to the website, and I will do that, but thought I'd better come out and tell you that up front. Right then, let's get started, and hopefully I can make that glaring error a distant memory. Right, here we go. I've just wanted you to know that I've attached one half of the frame, purely and simply because it's easier to show you so things aren't flopping about there. So don't worry, both sides are done in exactly the same way, but I wanted you to see that that was already attached. So there you go. So first things first, you need to thread up the smaller of the two needles that arrived in your box. It's easy to see which one that is because that one will pass through the whole of the purse easy enough. I'm not going to pull that all the way through because I'll have to unthread. So just give that a test before you thread it up. Okay. Right, what we then need to do, because the yarn is sitting inside of the purse at the moment, we need to get it to the outside of the purse. We need to begin with the yarn on the outside of the purse. And where we're going to pass that through is the starting point of the attachment of the frame, and that is the second stitch of the first petal to the left of the top, so after the top, so it's to the second stitch to the left. So if you use this long double crochet as your indicator of the beginning of the petal, the first stitch to the left of it is this orange double crochet here, the second is this one, and that is where our yarn needs to come through. So we put our needle right through the middle of that. It's easy to see because it's right at the top of the little edging that we've been working on, so it's not difficult to find. If you start in this point, everything is going to line up perfectly because you're going to finish in the same point over the other side. It's very clever. Right, so our yarn is now on the outside of our purse. We now need to get things going, we need to pass the needle. And again, it's a bit awkward. It won't be awkward for you, it's awkward for me because I'm having to try and keep everything in shot for you. But you're going to pass the needle from the back of the frame to the front through the first hole. Okay, so just make sure that you don't want to leave it like that because there's too much kind of there's too much slack there. So hold it nice and close and pull that nice and tight. Move along to your next hole and we're going to go front to back through this one. What we're then going to do, as you go along, you'll just do this intuitively, but to start you off I need to show you. You can see our yarn is coming out of this double crochet. Our needle is going to go through this hole and down through the middle of this double crochet. Okay, then it's going to come from the back of this one and up through this hole. So you're skipping along a double crochet each time you go through one of these holes. I'll show you. For now, I'm not going to tighten it up because I want you to just see where the needle is positioned. So when my needle goes from the top or the front to the back of the purse frame, hold on, my needle will then go from the front to the back of the stitch. Oh, it's all caught up, hold on, from the front to the back of the stitch, and it's the next stitch along, so it's there. Okay, let me put that through there. Like I said, as you're stitching this, you'll just pass the needle, you'll have the frame and the purse nice and close and tight, and you'll just do that intuitively. You won't pull it all the way through like I just did. Now if I just bend that down slightly, my yarn is going down through this stitch here. So it's now going to come from the back through this stitch here. Let me show you. Okay, there's my needle coming through, and it's going to go straight through this hole here. Okay, right. Apologies if Buzz doesn't manage to edit out small boy downstairs playing some sort of space laser game. I don't know what he's doing. Right, and we're just working along the holes just like that. So from when we're going from the top to the bottom of the frame, we're going from the top to the bottom of the stitch, obviously, straight through, can you see? And when we're coming from the back to the front of the frame, we're coming from the back to the front of the stitch. And it is literally hopping along one double crochet at a time until you get to the center point. Now this is where that erroneous number 11 in the pattern comes in, because you'll actually work 11 double crochet until you get to the center point. So let's just do that. Just carry on working as I've showed you, skipping along one double crochet at a time, so working in every single one and every single hole, and then when we get to the center point I shall just show you what happens there. Right, I'm now coming up through the back of the 11th stitch, the 11th double crochet, and when I bring my needle through, you will see that the next hole on the frame is the center point. You can see that because it's sitting under the center. If I bring the other clasp up, you can see it sits under the center of the closing mechanism. So this is the center point of the hole of the this is the center hole and the center point of the frame. So with this particular one, we're not going to go into a double crochet. We're going to go between the double crochet we've just worked. So hang on, let me pull that down. So we've just worked this one. Have we? No, we've just worked this one here, sorry. We've worked this one, and we're going to put the next, when we go through this hole, our needle's going to go into this hole, okay? Because we've worked this double crochet and we need to work this double crochet, we're going to go into this hole. All right, we're then going to just work 11 double crochet coming down this side, and it will finish us in exactly the right point. That's the thing, you see, it needs to all line up. So let me just recap that. When you've worked 11, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10 11, so it's this one here. When you've worked 11 double crochet, you are at the center point. The next hole that you work will come through a gap rather than a double crochet, and you're then going to pick up doing the normal thing you've been doing. So let's do that. So again, I'm working this in a kind of false way to show you, because when you're doing this, you'll put your needle straight through the work. You won't do this, but I just want to show you where the needle's going to go. Hold on. It's going to go through there, okay? Through there. And then we are going to start again in the normal way. So that is to say, we're going to come in through that stitch and go through there, and off you go. And it's 11 stitches down the other side to leave you in correct place so that everything lines up properly. I will do that. Okay, I'm on the last hole now, and if you look, the pattern and the working each double crochet has left me coming through the second stitch of this petal on the other side, so it's lined up exactly. So clever. So that you can see where my needle's coming out there, can't you? I'm going to, it's a bit tight now because I've got both sides attached. Your first side won't be tight like this. It'll be easier to do, trust me. But I'm just going to finish this off and then show you what happens when you come up the other side. Hold on. Right. So I'm going to give all of that a nice pull. Make sure it's nice and tight. If you need to go along and kind of tighten things up with your needle like this, that's fine, that will work. Just make sure that's sort of nice and secure in there. Oops, I've got a bit of something happening there. What's going on there then? Is it that? Right. Okay. Sorry, coffee. Okay, you can see it's looking beautiful already, but it's not quite finished. If I show you the other side, we've got to get this running, it's back stitch effect here rather than the running stitch. So we want to fill in all of the gaps so you don't see quite so much of the silver frame. And it's really, really straightforward. All you do is you go back the other way, and because your frame is now nice and secure, your needle will fall where it needs to fall. And that's all you're going to do. You're going to come back, fill in the gaps and secure your purse frame in completely. While I do this, I'm just going to tell you that to do the other side, you work it in exactly the same way. Now, what I found easier is rather than trying to, you might be fine because you might be okay kind of working the other way on it. I wanted to work my frame from the left side both times. So I actually sewed off and snipped the end when I got to the finish point of the first half of the frame. And then I reattached the yarn in the right place and did the second part of the frame in exactly the same way. So starting from the left side both times. If you keep your yarn attached, you're going to start from the left, and then when you turn around, you're going to have to work from the right. So you'll see what I mean when you do it. It's entirely up to you, completely your choice. But that's how I chose to do things. I found it more straightforward and also easier to demonstrate for you guys. Gosh, we're so close to finishing. We're so close to finishing, and the last little embellishment is beautiful. The last hole and down through the very last stitch, and that, my friends, is one attached purse frame. Let me just, oh look, I should just pop my needle in my purse, thank you, and close it up. Oh no, jammed it. That was less dramatic than I'd hoped. And close it up. I like that noise. Look at that, wonderful. Now don't forget, sew off your ends nice and securely, and let's make an embellishment, and